Children, today I will start with the first chapter of your history lesson, tracing changes through 1,000 years. Okay, before I start the lesson, I want to tell you that you have already learned in class 6 ancient history. As you know, historians have divided history into three periods: ancient, medieval, and modern. So in class 7, we are going to learn about medieval history. Now, what is the meaning of medieval? It means middle. It is in between ancient and modern history. It is called medieval. And when we are learning about India, the medieval history starts from 8th to 18th century. That means from 700 to 1700 CE. The CE means Common Era. And we can divide medieval history into two parts. Early medieval lasted from 8th to 13th century, and late medieval lasted from 13th to 18th century. And in this chapter we look at some of the changes that have taken place in this period. And study of medieval history is very important because all the changes that you see later on started from the medieval period. So the medieval period is going to be very interesting for you. Okay, so you now in 7th we are going to learn everything about medieval history. So children, as we are going to start with medieval history, the first chapter in your lesson is tracing changes through 1,000 years. Now what are we going to learn? What are the topics that we are going to learn in this chapter? Let us see. First we will look into the changes that took place in the maps, new and old terminologies that have been used, historians and their resources, new social and political groups that have emerged, regions and empires, old and new religions. So we see changes taking place, and you see very interestingly the name of the chapter is giving tracing changes through 1,000 years. We are going to learn all the changes that took place within these 1,000 years, from 8th to 18th, 700 to 1700 CE, Common Era. Okay, so we are going to look into all these factors and topics that are given in your book. So first we will start with changes in maps. Children, as I told you, we'll go to the first topic, changes in map. But before I start, let us see what is cartography. Okay, what is cartography? It is the art of making maps. And who is a cartographer? A person who makes maps. Now, very interestingly, I am going to show you three types of maps. Map 1, map 2 and map 3. Isn't it map 3 is familiar to you? Yes, it is our present day India. But what happened to map 1 and map 2? Let us see the difference between them. Children, this was map 1. Yes. Can you see the difference? And this is map 2. So what are the changes? Now let us see who has made this map 1. It was made by Al-Idris. Okay, he was an Arab geographer. And who has made this? He was a French cartographer. Yes, his name is Guillaume de Iles. He was a French cartographer, person who makes maps. Okay, so you can see the difference. What is the difference, children? Yes, you can see India is upside down. Sri Lanka is shown in the north. And whereas this looks more accurate like our present day India. Now, why does it look so? Because this map, the first map that you saw made by Al-Idris, an Arab geographer, was made in 1154, whereas this map was made in 1720. So that means after 600 years this map has changed and technology has changed. So he got a better idea of India, isn't it? Then we see he drew a larger map of the world, and the map here is the detail of the subcontinent from his larger map of the world. Okay, there's difference. And what did he make? He wrote the Atlas Novi. He also did some kind of research and he wrote a book. Now we'll look into the differences. So you can see the two maps very different but of the same area. They are of the Indian subcontinent. Now in Al-Idris map, South India is in the north, it is upside down, whereas Bouillem's, that is the French cartographer's map, is made nearly 600 years after the Al-Idris map, and it's somewhat similar to the present day map. Okay, so you can see Sri Lanka is marked as an island on the top, and the places are marked in Arab in the because he used Persian, and there are well-known names like Kannauj that we call it today. His spellings are different. It's given as Q, Kannauj. Okay, so the French cartographer map, William the Isles map, is more familiar to us, and you can see the coastal areas are very detailedly given, and this map was used by European sailors, merchants on their voyage. So let's look at the map. You can see a detailed look of, you can further go here, you can see a detailed look of the coastal areas. It's clearly marked and well done, and this is our present day map, so it is most familiar. Okay, so if you are asked the difference between the Arab cartographer map and the French cartographer map, you can say that Sri Lanka is marked as an island on the top, the names are written in Arabic and spellings are different, whereas this map is more familiar and the coastal areas are detailed, and this map was used by European sailors and merchants. Okay, and then we can say this map was made in 1154, and almost 600 years later in 1720 the French cartographer made his map. So this is the difference. So you can see now how maps are changing through these 1,000 years. We will see how maps have changed. That is the changes. That's the most important part of medieval history. We see continuous changes taking place. Okay, so the first part we have covered, changes in maps. Children, I've drawn a box just to give you the difference between, this is how you can do your difference between year of making. Map of Al-Idris is 1154, French cartographer is 1720. Usage, it was not used by anyone as map. This map was used by European sailors and merchants on voyage. The language that he used was Arabic, whereas he used the same in the English language. Position of Sri Lanka, it is shown in the north, whereas French cartographer shows it in the south, and his science of map making is different from the French, whereas the French map making is different from the Arab geographer Al-Idris. Okay, so this is a synopsis of the differences of the changes that took place in map making during this 1,000 years, and that is why the chapter's name is Tracing the Changes. So first changes we have seen, changes in maps.